الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين وبالقاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
ورحمة الله وبركاته.
We've been discussing under these verses from chapter 89 of Quran, Surah Fajr, the discussion of messages from Ashura. And we're talking about the message of Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar last night, which was apparent from the very beginning of Imam's journey. That on two separate occasions, Imam ﷺ, when he goes to the grave of Rasulullah, he says, indeed, Allahumma inni uhibbu, or that, oh Allah, I love Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. And then when he was leaving and he gave that sermon, in which he recited by saying that I'm not leaving, I'm not rising to cause any sort of corruption or chaos, or dhulm or injustice, but the sole purpose of my khuruj, the sole purpose of my uprise is what? Is to reform the society and bring Amr bil Ma'ruf, revive Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar. So we understand that on two separate occasions Imam ﷺ mentioned that. And that shows how important it was for Imam to get this out of the way, so that people thoroughly, fully understand maqsad and the reason behind Imam ﷺ's khuruj. So that tomorrow nobody has any doubt. If you look at each and every single word that is being uttered by Imam, and in this khutbah that Imam gave, it actually reflects on the current situation of the society. When Imam said, I want to cause reform, that means there's a need of reform in the society. It's not that Imam is saying everything is going normally and nothing needs to be changed. No, there was drastic change and overhaul which was needed. And then Imam said, Nahy anil Munkar is required, which nobody is doing at the moment. And then lastly Imam said, I want to be able to follow the sirat of my Jad Rasulullah. In other words, Imam is hinting towards the fact that people have forgotten the sirat of Rasulullah. Or 1400 years after the wafat of Rasulullah, those were not too far away from the wafat of Rasulullah. Only 50 years after the wafat of Rasulullah, yet Imam is saying the society has forgotten those values, and the sunnah of Rasulullah has been vanished, or is being vanished, or is being removed. So therefore, it was a need that Imam ﷺ had to perform. So he says, Inni uridu an amura. And so there's a difference when you say, I want to perform, and at another place you say, my irada, my intention in future is to perform Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. You and I make irada all the time. Your intention today, with the weather getting chilly and whatnot, it still was to come to the masjid. Alhamdulillah, this was a tawfiq given to you that you were able to come to Farsh Allah. You could have spent this night nice and cozy in the comfort of your house, staying in the bed or staying in the nice and warm houses that we all have. But you chose to come out in this, weather to come and join us for this Majlis Azam. A lot of time people use this word, may Allah increase your tawfiqat. You hear that all the time. I said there's not a single word which can explain the word tawfiq. There are a lot of words in Arabic and Persian which we do not have the synonym for in English. I don't know how you would explain the word tawfiq. If I wanted to explain to the kids, may Allah increase your tawfiq, it'd be very difficult for me to translate the word. What is this tawfiq? What does that mean? My fortune, what do you translate the word tawfiq as? So I usually give this example. That yes, it was cold weather. Everything was there for you that you could have stayed back home. Watching TV or whatever it is that you could be doing. But you preferred coming to Farsh Azah to commemorate this Majlis Azah. The fact that you were able to leave all the comfort and prioritize this Majlis on top of all of that, that is called tawfiq. That is called tawfiq. That some people gained that tawfiq, others did not have that tawfiq. I'm not assuming that everybody who's not here, they're skipping the Majlis. I'm sure they're somewhere else during the Majlis, or they might come later on. But this is how you explain the word tawfiq. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. Strength is one way of translating, but does not really give you the actual meaning of the word tawfiq. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He increases the tawfiqat of everybody who's present over here, especially the kids that are present over here. We send Allah salawat. So you and I make irada, we make intentions. When we make intentions, sometimes we live up to our intentions, we end up performing it, and sometimes we don't. And this is where Amir al-Mu'mineen also mentions in Nahj al-Balagha that with the breaking of my intentions, things that I had thought to do, I wanted to do, but because at the last moment it did not happen or I was unable to perform it, I understand that there is Malik Haqiqi above everyone. He's the one who decides everything. He's the one who plans everything. You and I can plan all we want to, but the ultimate planning rests with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is where we understand the irada, the intention of human beings. You and I make an intention to do something, how much we live up to that. And then at one point, Ma'asumeen, Imam is making the intention that I'm doing the irada. My intention is to perform Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. Where am I trying to take you over here? And then at one place, Allah is making the intention. So definitely when you and I make intention, it's 50-50. It'll happen, it might not happen. When Imams make intention, even then, Imam himself is admitting the fact that with the change of plans and the change of my intentions, I understand that someone else is deciding for me. But then when Allah makes the intention to do something, there's no change in that. It's hatmi, it will definitely take place. This is where the question arises. If you read the verse 33 of chapter 33, Surah Ahzab, chapter number 33 and verse number 33. The ayat that we usually recite, we refer to ayat of tathir. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, innama yuridullah. So the same word yurid is being used over there. Same irada. You and I make the irada. Imam says, I'm making the irada. Inni uridu an amura bil ma'ruf. My intention is to perform amr bil ma'ruf. There Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making the intention. Innama yuridullah. Indeed, Allah makes the intention to do what? To purify you, O Ahlul Bayt, the way the haqq of purification is. When we recite this ayah, we usually send salawat, so please send us salawat. And that is also something which is, sort of tuned into our minds, that when we recite this in Arabic, we send salawat. But when you hear the translation of it, you should also send the salutation. But nonetheless, Allah is making this irada. Here, when Allah is making the irada by saying that I want to purify this family, no one should question that there was a time that this family was not pure. Because there are certain du'as that we make. For example, when you recite the qunut in Eid, You say, oh Allah, give Ahlul Bayt or put Ahlul Bayt and enter them into all of the goods that you entered me into. Or keep them away from all the evil that you have kept me away from, or the evil that they were in before, God forbid. So we make this dua when making Allahumma Ahl al-Kibriyai wal-Azama wa Ahl al-Jud wal-Jabarut wa Ahl al-Afwi wal-Rahma as'aluka bihaqqi hadha al-yawm alladhi ja'altahu lis-muslimin 'Eida wa li-Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa alihi zukhran wa sharafan wa karamatan wa mazida an tusalli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad an tudkhilani fi kulli khair adkhalta fihi Muhammadan wa ali Muhammad وَأَن تُخْرِجَنِي مِنْ كُلِّ سُوءٍ أَخْرَجْتَ مِنْهُ مُحَمَّدٌ وَآلِ مُحَمَّدٍ. O Allah, enter me into all of the khair in which you had entered Ahlul Bayt, Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. O Allah, keep me out of all of the evil from which you kept Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad out. Some people raise question, that means there was a time Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad were not on khair. Na'udhu billah. That's why you're making such a dua. Here the answer is that no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this ayat of chapter 33, verse 33, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ. It is the irada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to understand the tawheed. That irada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala belongs to His sifat, His zat rather. Among the zat and the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what? His ilm, His power, and His irada. And the irada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just like Himself, is azali, is ever living and is everlasting. When the irada of someone is ever living and he intends on doing something, you cannot put a time limit on that. So we need to assume the fact that Ahlul Bayt were never in any, God forbid, evil. They were always purified by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because His irada is also qadeem. It's not hudus, it's not hadis, it did not happen later on. It has always been there, and therefore Ahlul Bayt, according to this irada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, have always been purified by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat Haji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So when Imam stood up in Karbala, Imam raised his voice. Imam got up against this evil. Did the evil vanquish or vanish right away? No. Evil remained. In fact, it remained for quite a few years. But did Imam ﷺ stop? This is where the purity of intentions comes into play. How firm are you in your intentions and your irada? Imam could have given up. In fact, many people who have gone along with Imam, seeing what kind of people Imam is bringing, might have given up. Yet this is where the conviction comes into play. Imam is not looking at the results right away. And this is what we need to imply into our lives as well. That we give up so easily. We give up so easily. Imam is not looking for the results in an instant. Because if Imam was looking for a result in an instant, just like many people viewed it, they thought Imam's campaign, God forbid, was a failure. He didn't achieve what he wanted to. He got killed. But Imam ﷺ knew all of these hurdles will come along, yet he still has to go through it. A lot of time, youngsters, they give up very easily things that come about. There's a story of a person by the name Ja'arana. Ja'aran is a little beetle in Arabic. It's called a beetle, that little bug. And so how did he become Abu Ja'arana? Or Ja'arana, how did he get this name? Well, one day, he was sitting in a masjid, just like this sutoon that you have, pillar right here. And he was leaning against the pillar. And he saw that on top of the pillar, there was a lamp. And beetles are attracted towards the lamp. But because the pillar was so smooth, this beetle kept on trying to climb up this pillar. He said, I sat there just to count how many times it takes this beetle to climb up. He said, I counted myself 700 times. I guess he had a lot of time in the world to sit there just to count that. He said, I counted 700 times. It went up, fell down. Went up, fell down. Kept trying though, because that was the destiny it had in mind. He said, when it kept trying, even though it kept on failing, it gave me energy. I got up because I had given up on everything. I got up, did wudu, performed 2 rakat namaz, and by the time I came back to the same pillar, I saw that the beetle had made it on top. So I said, I counted up to 700. I don't know how many more tries it took that beetle to get up on top, but nonetheless, it made it on top. So he said, I learned a lesson. And there are many examples of such in Quran, brothers and sisters. I'll quote a few examples that this Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar is not something which is only the duty of human beings. Quran gives us examples. Whenever there's an evil, you must abstain, you must forbid it. Whenever there's a good which is being practiced, you must encourage it. And the unfortunate thing is that animals have the ability to perceive what is right and what is wrong. Yet a lot of time humans lack that ability. I'll give you an example from Surah Naml. The story of Hazrat Sulaiman and that bird, Hudhud. It says, وَحُشِرَ لِسُلَيْمَانَ جُنُودُهُ مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ. That there was a gathering. Hazrat Sulaiman had this assembly in the morning. All of the animals would gather. Just like we have this assembly right here. We have this Majlis. Everybody gathers here around 7:30 this should be, but up and down. So everybody used to come. Hazrat Sulaiman saw one of the birds was missing. You know the story, I'm just repeating for the kids. He saw one of the birds was missing. He said, لَعُذِّبَنَّهُ, I will severely punish him. And I might even, slaughter him for him not being here. Imagine if Maulana started doing that. You don't come to Majlis, you don't show up on time, لَعُذِّبَنَّهُ. You'll get adab shadid. Nonetheless, this was the assembly of Hazrat Sulaiman. He wasn't going to leave it easy. He said, I will punish. This is Surah Naml, chapter, I think about 16 or 17, verse number 17 actually. Surah Naml, verse number 17. لَهُشَرَ, all of them gathered. One bird was missing. He said, he must have a good excuse for not being here on time. If he doesn't, he's going to get the punishment. He said, Mali la aral hudhud. What is it that I do not see Hudhud? Where is he? And then Hudhud shows up. Poo is the translation, I guess. Shows up later on. Tardy. Where were you? Why were you late? You better have a good excuse. Otherwise, I've already told everybody I'm going to punish you. He said, yes. I was flying over this kingdom and I saw the people of that kingdom were not adherent or the followers of your madhab. In fact, they were not muwahid. They were not worshippers of Allah. They were worshipping the sun. And so I stopped to see who's the ruler. In fact, it's a lady. Her name is Bilqis. And so I have come to you. Imagine a bird giving all this detail, flying over a kingdom, understanding the fact that these people are not worshipping Allah, worshipping a creation of Allah, finding out who the ruler is, and bringing all that information to Hazrat Sulaiman. Why did he stop? Nahi anil munkar. To forbid that is evil. He said there is something which is going on which is forbidden. They're not on the right path. So they might need irshad, they will need guidance. Maybe they're lacking guidance. So the first step is to guide them. But someone has to do it. Now I have come across, let me go ahead and tell that person who has the power and the ability to implement the laws of Allah. And that is the messenger. He did not take it in his own hands to go ahead and implement the religion upon them. Rather, he came back and informed Hazrat Sulaiman. And when he informed Hazrat Sulaiman, he said, okay, now take this letter, bring it back, and all that stuff that takes place. Bring the throne of the queen before she arrives over here, and who's going to bring it. And then there was a person by the name Asif Barkhia who was able to bring the throne of the queen in a blink of an eye. 1,500 miles distance from Yemen to Palestine, where Hazrat Sulaiman is, yet in a blink of an eye, he's able to bring it. Still, you and I are unable to comprehend that fact, but it is documented in Quran, it is there. So that's one incident where we see a bird is performing what? Nahyan al-munkar. You see a danger, you should run for the cover. For example, God forbid, there's fire. That's why these buildings that are built, they're, fire exits. You see all the places, and fire marshal comes and sees there's something covering. Because of our desi mentality, sometimes we cover it and this and that. They come and they make sure that we follow the codes and whatnot. So God forbid, if there's fire, there's smoke, you know how to exit this building. You know where to exit it from. It is marked in its places. And if you don't help yourself and others in exiting, obviously it's against the logic. This is also nahi anil munkar. This is also amr bil ma'ruf. It's not just practical in the wajibat, but you see it all around yourselves. That if there's fire, it is your duty. Nobody's going to come and tell you, come on, wake up. It's a wajib. You have to save your life and the lives of others that are with you. So it's a logical thing. Another example is of an ant. We read at another place in Surah Naml, verse number 18, it talks about, these ants. The leader of the ant says, An-Naml, he said, Ya ayyuhan naml, udkhulu masakinakum. Oh, the Jamaat and the congregation of ants, enter into your houses. Why? I fear لَيَحْتِمَنَّكُمْ سُلَيْمَانَ وَجُنُودُهُ وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. Sulaiman and his armies coming, they will run over us. They don't see these little ants walking around. Do you see them? But this ant sees them, so said, we need to get away, get out of the way. They're not going to get out of our way, so we'll have to get out of their way. She sees the danger. She's the leader. She's the queen. She sees the danger right away, takes her people away from danger. That's nahi anil munkar. You're avoiding danger. And then the later on ayat are very interesting to read. She used the word وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ, that they will run us over and they would not even have any clue. هُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. They would not even have any shu'ur. Do you have any knowing when you run over some of these little insects and whatnot? No, we don't realize the fact that we have killed so many insects. So although it's not a jorm, it's not a crime, but still we don't realize that. Similarly, this ant is saying, we got to save ourselves. So let's move away from their path because they're not going to change their course. Right away, Hazrat Sulaiman, who was able to speak and understand their language, فَتَبَسَّمَ ضَاحِكًا, he smiled. He smiled and picked up this ant on the hand and spoke to it and had a conversation. Said, no, we will not ram you over. We'll not run you over. We'll make sure that we avoid running you over. So here we understand that the ant can see that this is the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hudhud has the understanding to perform nahi anil munkar and knows who can implement the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But unfortunately, people lived with Rasulullah for so many years, yet they fail to understand who has the authority and what kind of Shariat Rasulullah has brought with him. Salawat bi Muhammad. So from these two examples, you can understand that this is Amr Fitri. It's a natural phenomenon. It's not something which is unnatural. It is natural. You and I come into this conversation all the time, and it's something that we need to perform. In fact, hadiths tell us that our religion is obviously a living religion. It's a living faith. It's not a dead faith. And therefore, those who refrain from performing Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar, it says, فَهُوَ مَيِّتٌ بَيْنَ الْأَحْيَاءِ. This person is like mayyat among those who are alive. Dead man walking. That's what he is. The dead person among those who are alive. That's why different hadiths mention that Bani Naw Insan, human beings, Muslimin, Mu'mineen, are like brothers in faith. In a way, they're like body parts. There's one body and different parts. 2 arms, 1 hand, eyes. They're different body parts of one another. When one part is hurting, it's not like the other part has no clue about it. When my right arm is hurting, my heart knows, my mind knows, my left arm knows, everything in my body knows that my right arm is hurting. And right away it goes to the aid of that right arm. That's what Prophet is envisioning the Muslim Ummah to be body parts of one another. That if that person is in pain, you should realize it. You should be worrying about it, and you should be taking care of the pain of that individual. You know, having this pain, since the conversation of pain has come about, having this pain, look at the time, I don't run off my time. Is it a good thing to have pain, or is it a bad thing to have pain? Sometimes pain is actually a good thing. Why? Because if you didn't have the pain, you wouldn't know how to cure yourself. Because I'm hurting, I'll go see a specialist, go see a doctor who will have a cure for me. Because I'm hurting. If this pain, there was no pain, it was not showing any pain, it was something which was killing me from inside. You know, a lot of time I've heard, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that some of the cancers, they don't show any pain or signs of any pain. Yet it builds up, and then because it's too late, then it's very difficult to cure. But things that you get hurt, right away you feel. It's bleeding, you feel the pain. Right away you take care of it before it gets worse than that. So having this dard is actually a good thing. In fact, our fourth Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam said, he said, I don't know, Allah, when should I thank you more? When I'm in pain or when I'm without pain? When I'm perfectly alright and I don't have any illness, or when I'm ill, when should I thank you more? He said, I should thank you more when I'm ill, because then only I understand the worth of being well. When I'm well, I don't understand the worth of being well. But as soon as I fall ill, right away I understand the value. I wish I was well again. I wish I get better again. You don't like that feeling. You despise that feeling. This dard is something which was, in fact, mentioned in a story. It's a very good, interesting story that tells us how animals share this thing. You and I, humans, might not feel the pain of another individual, although we can if we realize that. But it showed how animals had that feeling for one another. There was a merchant, a businessman. He traveled to India from Iran, and he brought a parrot with him. But he saw that the parrot was always sad, wouldn't talk, would hardly eat. Obviously, he had put him in a cage. He was out in the woods in India, in Iran, he's in a cage. So he was worried. Next trip when he went to India, he went to the jungle where he got this bird from. And he said to the Jamaat of the parrots that I took one of your friends last time I was here. But he's always sad. What do? How do I make him happy? He said, as I was saying this, one of the birds fell from the branch to the ground and died. So he said, I came back. I came back to Iran. And I spoke to this parrot of mine. I said, look, I went to India. I saw your friends. And I told them that you're always sad. What should I do for you to become happy again? And as soon as I asked them this question, one of the birds was sitting on the branch, fell on the floor, and died. I don't know what to make of it. The bird in the cage fell on the ground and died. He felt sad. He said, I shouldn't have told him this story, because I killed two birds. I killed the one in India by telling him the story, and I killed the one here, my own pet. He said, well, now I gotta let go of this and I have to bury it. So as soon as he opened the cage, bird flew out of there. It was actually the trick that was sent by the birds in India to the friend here in Iran, that this is how you earn your freedom from this. So they feel and they share the pain of one another. Hopefully humans can do the same thing. Salawat bi Muhammad wa ala alihi. So tarbiyat of children is also through amr bil ma'ruf and nahi anil munkar. Even the people who lack any faith and don't believe in any religion or any doctrine, even they are doing amr bil ma'ruf and nahi anil munkar. Don't you hear them all the time saying to their children, don't do this? What is that? That's nahi anil munkar. Do this, what is that? That's encourage them to do something good. So even those who are not followers and adherents of any faith, any religion, perform amru nahi. All the time you hear parents, do this, don't do this. It's only do's and don'ts when you're young. That's all you hear. And even sometimes when you get older, that's all you hear. Do's and don'ts. So what is that? That's amr and that's nahi. So it's sort of something which is part of our life, everyday life. But once again, do not expect the results right away. You need to cultivate the seed and then wait for the results and have tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that will definitely produce. But then we make a mistake. When should we do amr and nahi? Doing amr and nahi all the time is not going to be very beneficial either. Riwayat actually mentioned to us that when you bring gift to your children, when you buy earrings, when fathers, you buy earrings for your daughters, that's the best time to do nasihat. That's the best time to give advice. When you buy some gift to your children, sit down and talk to them. That's when they are most receptive. Other times, inshallah, they're receptive as well, but that's when they have received something from you, their ears are open, and they're going to be listening to what you have to say. So Amr Nahi has logical roots. Do not consider any of the Islamic wajibat to be without logic. There's logic, and although we don't need logic to prove any of our wajibat, but there is logic behind every single one of them. In fact, if you look at namaz, you say, what's the logic behind namaz? A lot of people ask this question, why do we even have to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He does not require us to pray? So the answer is that we pray for ourselves. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but for our own good, for our own betterment. Why? Because the ayat of Quran says what? Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. The same amr nahi is over here. Amr bil ma'ruf wal nahi anil munkar is also over here. What does the salat do? Look how they're interrelated with one another. Salat keeps you away, tanha anil fahsha, keeps you away from indecencies, wal munkar, and from evils. By the way, many people, including me, are questioning. I've been praying for good 20 some years, but I still do indecency and I still perform evil acts sometimes. Does that mean the ayat of Quran over here is wrong? No. There's nothing wrong with the ayat of Quran. That's absolutely kalam hakim, kalam of Allah. So there's nothing wrong with the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When He's saying that salat removes indecency and salat keeps you away from evil, it is saying that. But then you say, how come I have not been able to stay away from that? Well, similarly, the salat is like a university. Many people enter this university, but not everybody comes out of it having attained something. Everybody goes. The job of the university is to provide knowledge to everyone, but not everybody comes out having achieved anything from it. But this salat, to back up this ayat with another hadith, there's a hadith from our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, in which Prophet said, لو كان على باب دار أحدكم نهر فاغتسل فيه في كل يوم 5 مرات. Imagine if there was a river, nahar, lake, pond, or a swimming pool outside of your house. And if you dived in it 5 times a day, would there be any physical impurity left on your body? You're dipping yourself, diving into this swimming pool or lake or pond 5 times a day. Will there be any physical impurity left on your body or your clothes? Everybody replied, no, there won't be. Prophet said, salat is similar. Because you're diving into this spiritual cleansing 5 times a day. What it does, it cleans inside of yours. It purifies you from inside. And therefore, the same way water is purifying your external body, this salat is purifying you from internally. And therefore, when Quran says, "Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar," it stands truth that yes, it has that ability to purify you. But then again, the problem arises that not many people are able to take this and understand that and able to avail that. Kind of like the ayat of Surah Baqarah, the first ayat, Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This book is book for all of mankind. Prophet is Rahmatan lil-Alameen, and this book is for all of Alameen. Now the question is, if it's for Alameen, why is Quran saying ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ? Why are you limiting it only for muttaqeen? That only muttaqeen can benefit from it. Why are you limiting it when you're saying the book is for all of mankind? Well, the example of that is rain. Although it's the season for snow, but we'll give you the example for rain. When it rains, it does not see where the water will fall. Whether it is, mountainous area, whether it is a fertile area, whether it's on a grass, whether it's on a desert surface, whether it's on, the roads, it does not see. It's not prejudiced where the water will fall. It's raining, it is going to rain everywhere. But who do you think is going to use this rain properly? The desert, the mountains, the roads, or this fertile land? Similarly, this Quran is for all of mankind, but only hudan lil muttaqeen, because muttaqeen are that fertile land which we only able to use this Quran. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is limiting it to them only. Salat kijiye, Muhammad wa So when we're talking about tarbiyat as well, I will try to conclude as soon as possible that we need to give alternative before we tell someone not to do this. What ends up happening is that we tell our kids, don't do this, don't listen to this. Give them an alternative. To listen to what? And then tell them, don't listen to this. So that is the method of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He told Hazrat Adam and Hawa, what did He say? He said, "Kula minha ragadan haythu shi'tuma." Eat from here whatever you want. But وَلَا تَقْرَبَا هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ. Eat from whatever exists, but do not approach this particular tree. So first Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving them alternative, and then saying don't approach this one particular tree. You and I have to do the same thing. When we're speaking to the kids, when we're talking to them, young parents especially, give them an alternative first, and then tell them to stay away from this particular thing or this particular act. When we say, there are problems of, relationships and whatnot. Well, one of the things that Islam is mentioning among the wajibat of the parents is to give them a good name. يُحَسِّنْ إِسْمَهُ. Teach them the book. يُعَلِّمُهُ الْكِتَابِ. يُزَوِّجُهُ إِذَا بَلَغَ. Get them married when they're old enough. We're not giving them that alternative, and we expect that they will not form these relationships. So you got to provide them what is needed, and then you got to expect them not to commit that indecent act. Salawat Muhammad wa One last hadith in this regard. Muharram is the best time because we are already receptive, and to extent we are ready to adopt many things. As it is, I gave this misal, I think in one of the first majalis, although it's a wrong notion, but nonetheless we say this, we hear this all the time. I don't listen to music during Muharram. So at least the person has come to the extent that is not listening to music. So now I give them the alternative and make sure that it stays with them. So we're ready, we're making sacrifice somehow in this month of Muharram because of Abu Abdullah. Abu Abdullah has given us this ability. I'll put it away because I will go over my time otherwise because of the masaib and the length of masaib today. Abu Abdullah has given this ability and chance to us, especially in this month of Muharram, that we are receptive, we're able to perform certain sacrifices, looking at that big sacrifice that Imam and his family performed. When we come to discuss Imam's behavior, when we come to discuss the people who went along with Imam, it should not just be the tazkirah for us to remind ourselves every single year. Remember that tragedy, weep and cry over it, and then we'll do it again next year. No. The only way we are able to satisfy Imam is when we have picked up something from his kalam, or when we have picked up something from his actions or what he did. That is the only way of getting Imam's approval, nothing else. And so we see that these people who have come with Imam, they're filled with this energy. Ordinary individuals. I'll begin with the Masayib of Muslim ibn Awsada, a companion of Imam, goes out and performs this jihad alongside Imam and achieves martyrdom. Imam has just brought the body of Muslim ibn Awsada back. He sees there's this young man walking towards Makkah. Someone tells Imam, can you stop this young man? Imam stops this young man and says, who are you? He said, I'm son of Muslim ibn Awsada. He said, where are you going? He said, Mawla, give me permission, I want to go to Makkah as well and present myself and my qurbani to you. Imam said, your mother just received one sad news of the shahadat of your father. It will be difficult for a mother to receive another sad news, shahadat of her son. The child looked at Imam, weeping and crying. Mawla, who do you think got me dressed up for this? Who do you think is sending me to Makkah? And while this debate was going on, a lady came out from the tent asking Mawla, I'm the one who has sent this son of mine towards you, give him the permission to go ahead and sacrifice him. These are the people, ordinary people, but they became extraordinary when they joined the army of Imam. Imagine this lady, she just lost her husband, and now she's willingly giving her son in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep your children and your husbands, alive and with you as long as it's possible. But alhamdulillah, we understand that this is the ultimate inevitable thing that will happen to everyone. And I said alhamdulillah because we believe in this, that death will come upon everyone, whenever the time is. There's no running away from this death. But imagine those widows who have 12 or 13-year-old sons, just like Muslims, wife who only have this son, who's 13 or 14 years old. If a widow only has this 13-year-old, she lives for this person, this child, because this is all she has. But the courage to go ahead and sacrifice even this son on Imam Hussein is amazing. But we remember another orphan at that time by the name of Qasim ibn Hassan. I mentioned the other day that those who couldn't be present in Karbala, they sent their fidya from before. al-Baneen sent 4 of her sons. Imam Hassan knew that he would not be alive when the event of Karbala will take place. So he made sure that his son is present to help Imam Hussein. And likewise, we saw other examples. Hazrat Abdullah, we recited the Masab of Ala Muhammad yesterday. How difficult it must have been. I'll go quickly, as I'm running out of my time, that we see that Imam ﷺ is sitting in the night of Ashur, telling the companions that everybody will attain martyrdom tomorrow. He missed one name. I don't know, was it on purpose or he wanted to test. But the result, or the way the reaction came, Hazrat Qasim is weeping and crying. Imam goes up to him and saying, "Oh Qasim, why are you crying?" He said, "Mawla, you mentioned everyone's name, But you did not say that I will be among those who will face martyrdom tomorrow. Imam wanted to test. Imam said, how do you see maut? He said, I look at maut, it is sweeter than honey to me. Ahla min al-asal, be the words of Hazrat Qasim. Imam said, don't worry, O Qasim. Not only you, but your young brother, 6-month-old Ali Asghar, will also embrace martyrdom. Allahu Akbar. Hearing that, Hazrat Qasim is only 13 years old, but the jalal of Hazrat Qasim comes in. He says, Mawla, hal yasiluna ila al-qiyam? Will the enemy will reach the qiyam where the ladies are? Is that how it's going to happen? Imam said, I wanted to calm Qasim down. I said, no, I will take Ali Asghar myself and he will be sacrificed in that fashion. The next day comes. All of the ashab have already gone ahead. They have presented their shahada. Now the turn for Banu Hashim comes. Hazrat Qasim comes out, asking Mawla for the permission to go ahead and perform this jihad, which he had been sent for, which he was prepared by Imam Hassan. Imam, how does he give permission for him to go? There's no way that Imam will give permission. Just imagine how hard it must have been for Imam Hussein. People coming and asking for shahada, and Imam has to give permission. Imam kept on turning it down. He was sitting by himself and then he came up with something. He realized that his father, that his mother told him that his father had left this ta'weez on his hand, and he gave it to him, that open it up when you are needing it. He opens up the ta'weez and he sees what it says in it. Oh my son Qasim, help my brother Hussein. That's what was written in the ta'weez. He right away sees that to be an opportunity. He comes running back to Imam Hussein. He says, look at this Mawla, look at this Chachajan. This is what my father has given to me. Imam reads the khat and the kalam of Imam Hassan. Now he has no way. He says to Hazrat Qasim, Qasim, you brought this letter. This letter is the death certificate for you. In other words, Imam Hassan's son Hazrat Qasim and Imam Hussein embrace each other. They weep for such a long time that they pass out. There's no water in Karbala. How will Janab Zainab bring them back? Will wake them up? All she has these tears. These tears come down from Hazrat Zainab, falling onto the faces of Imam Hussein and Hazrat Qasim. They wake up. Imam prepares Hazrat Qasim, puts on the amama, and then puts Taht al-Hanak on two sides, representing, if you know, when we put on the amama, which is mustahab for the dead body, there's Taht al-Hanak. Imam al-Asadu is saying, in other words, O Qasim, don't consider this to be amama, rather this is your kafan that I'm sending you with. Hazrat Qasim goes towards Maqdal. He performs the jihad, reminding people who he is. He's the son of Hazrat Imam Hassan. And after, when he was performing this jihad, the same tactic that the dushman and the enemy had applied with others, they gather him from all around, they strike from all around, and then Hazrat Qasim comes down onto the ground. As he comes down to the ground, he calls upon his uncle for one last time. As soon as Imam Hussein hears that, he runs towards the Maqtar. But when people saw Imam coming, the horses on the left went towards right, the horses on the right went towards left, and in the middle was the lasha of Hazrat Qasim. It was trampled over, and the body of Hazrat Qasim, who some riwayat say was in pieces, some riwayat said it was flattened so long that when Imam Hussein arrived, he went to the body of Hazrat Qasim. He said, oh my nephew, you called upon your uncle, but how ghareeb is your uncle that he could not even come for your help in Nusrat. And the riwayat say that Imam lifted the janaza and the body of Hazrat Qasim. One riwayat says that Hazrat Qasim, although 13 years old, but because of the trampling of the body, his feet were being dragged onto the road. Allah la'natullah al-qawm al-zalimin wa sayalamu alladhina zalamu ayyahum qalbin yanqalibun. Allah